All right, we're giving away a Four Roses bourbon golf umbrella and T-shirt. They're really cool. You can see it on Twitter. We'll post it on some other platforms over the course of the show. But I got some video of it. I thought it looked pretty good. I think I've already put it on the Instagram. Blake. I do need to.
Yeah.
I do have an announcement.
If they go to YouTube, search Out of Bounds Sports, they get on Facebook and watch the Out of Bounds show live right now, they can see it as well.
Oh, there you go. We're on our YouTube live channel. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Sweet. We'll have John Cohen on in a few minutes. Get the latest out of, well, Birmingham / the SEC as the SEC athletic directors met in person for the first time since March. And to say that football season is in jeopardy is an understatement. But we'll see what plays out here over the next couple of weeks. It sounds like they want to make a decision later in July. And maybe we can start this thing October 1. Maybe we can start October 1. And it looks like they're going to let the NFL and Goodell take the lead on how to do this. But then the question is, if and when the NFL plays.
Do you agree with that philosophy?
I see why they would do it. Yeah. But I'm going to ask the same question. I know people don't want to hear this. How are college towns going to make it?
Without it.
Without football. And I'm not trying to go doom and gloom because we're not a doom and gloom show, but I think we do understand, some of the economics, and we've been talking sports and business since we jumped on the show in 2003, which no one was doing back in 2003 because most media journalist guys don't know anything about cash flow or business or commerce and so on. But I'm just wondering how it looks from Oxford to Athens and Starkville to Auburn and Gainesville to Baton Rouge. But we'll see. Now, some of those towns are bigger than kind of college towns. Lexington, Baton Rouge. Vanderbilt's in Nashville, so that's not a college town. But for the most part, you're looking at, restaurants, bars, gasoline, hotels, Airbnb, VRBO, and so on drives the train. We'll have John Cohen on in a couple of minutes. Your SEC Insider Hit this morning is brought to you by Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. It's good to be blue. The official healthcare provider of the Out of Bounds show is Blue Cross Blue Shield of Mississippi. Also want to let you know that the Mississippi Ag John Deere Tractor text line is 601-885-ESPN. 885-3776. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. If you miss any of the show, we would love for you to hit our podcast. We totally redid it, got on a much better platform. And we're on Podbean, we're on Spotify, and we're still on Apple Podcast and the Out of Bounds radio app. So we're everywhere as far as going back, listening to a segment of the show, or if you missed an interview from Fred Smoot, or Oklahoma Sooners insider Josh McCuistion on Mike Leach and Bob Stoops' relationship, among other topics that we have hit, or Jeff Jones with Jonesy Q seasoning and sauce making a Bloody Mary for us. I think we need to do a mac and cheese competition, Blake.
Yes.
Winner gets it's not big, but it's not bad. $100. We'll do $100 cash, $100 in merch, and we need a mac and cheese competition. I would think that either pork belly or bacon or something like that on top of it is going to get you closer to winning. That's also something someone could fix and get here, and it's still going to be pretty good.
Yeah, if you have it in like a crock pot where it's staying warm or something like that, keep it hot. I could do that. I love. I had an incredible steak mac and cheese. It was like a white smoked Gouda with like fillet strips on top of it.
Where?
This was at a big steakhouse type
when
restaurant.
You were in Canada?
Chicago.
Okay.
It was fantastic.
God, you know what?
It was glorious.
I bet it was. Real quick, the what's the movie where they always go, hey, how you doing,
Oh,
You know,
gosh. I know what you're
it's
talking.
around Moosehead Beer.
Yes.
You could have been in that movie.
Really?
Yes.
I guess that's a compliment. I
No, that
appreciate
is a compliment. You could have been the third dude easily. Strange Brew. Is that right?
That's the coffee house in Starkville, but
Oh, no, okay, that's not it then.
I was about
That's
to say
not
that
it, sorry.
doesn't sound exactly right,
If anybody know, it was a movie in the 80s, and you could be in that movie.
but well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, because you kind of move like that.
Okay.
It's you're very methodical. I don't know. Anyway, we'll talk about that more in a minute. We got important, serious stuff going on. We've got the athletic director at Mississippi State, John Cohen, joining us on the Coors Light guest line. You can watch the show on YouTube Live. Search Out of Bounds Sports. We're also streaming on the Out of Bounds radio app. We want to welcome in John Cohen. John, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Bo. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Before we get into some, I guess, tougher questions, it's National Mac and Cheese Day. So does that do anything for you? Does John Cohen like mac and cheese?
Unfortunately, he loves mac and cheese way too much. But, yeah. It's in fact, was traveling to Birmingham, and Nell and I stopped at a Jim and Nick's and actually had some mac and cheese to go.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You know, when you and I were growing up, we got it, Kraft out of the box, and now they do all this cool culinary stuff with it. You know, they sprinkle pork belly on it, bacon, and all kinds of amazing things. It's not 1984 anymore when it was just.
No, and I'm 53, Bo, so I'm not supposed to be doing that kind of stuff anymore. But sometimes, you just have to, you got to break the rules a little bit.
No doubt. No doubt. John Cohen on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Okay, so, John, you and your colleagues, all 14 athletic directors, meet with Commissioner Sankey, among others, I guess in a big conference room and on conference call, and you're trying to figure out whether or not you can play football or not in the fall of 2020. It doesn't look like y'all are going to be able to start on time, but where are y'all today after the meeting yesterday?
Yeah, I thought it was really productive. But I mean, you're trying to kind of work through all these invisible forces, which is essentially, in some respects, not in all, but in some respects, what this virus is like. And when you're trying to prepare for everything that can happen in the future, but you don't know what's going to happen in the future. I mean, obviously that makes things very difficult. We do feel like at this point we have a couple of weeks to be able to, maneuver but we are preparing for every eventuality. I mean, everything from who can be on the field, everything involving, having a football game. So as you might imagine, the minutia, the amount of detail is extraordinary, but, that's why our conference leads the way, because they understand the detail, and we're led by Greg Sankey, who has a really good game plan under the circumstances.
So the next step, it sounded like from Commissioner Sankey, is in 2 weeks, give or take, sometime in late July. You continue to get reports from the medical advisory group / committee. And at some point you make a decision on what you can and can't do in the fall.
Pretty much. Again, I think there's some factors here. Again, none of us in the room are epidemiologists, although we got great medical information. We were in our meeting, and certainly everyone wants to play football this fall. Everybody in that room does. We don't want to give up on that option. We might be forced to, but nobody in that room wants to give up on that option right now. And nobody wants to give up on the traditional option of our schedule, the way it sits right now. Again, we might be forced to do that. And I think there's a little bit of panic in the world right now because people want college football. The players want to play. The coaches want to coach. Fans want to be there. They want to watch on television. But Bo, I think we're in a situation where we don't have to panic at this point in time, and I think gathering information and making great information, based on what's available to us, and is important. But more than anything, using the time you have is critical here. We really don't need to jump off a cliff right now until we absolutely have to. And again, as you know, Bo, because you're a reporter. The information is just changing daily, and we're hoping right now that this spike is something that's going to diminish and allow us to get on the field in the fall.
John Cohen, MSU AD, on the Out of Bounds show, talking 2020 football. So, where does the league stand as far as other sports? I heard, and this could be total nonsense, that several months ago, no other sport would dress out before football was either played or y'all knew it would be played.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, Bo.
Okay.
In fact, I know that's not the case. All of our sports are critical to us, and the truth of the matter a lot of these sports are different. Depending on how much contact they have with each other. Is there I'm not going to say a danger, but are there concerns with all these sports? Absolutely. Soccer is a physical sport. Kids are running into each other. There's physicality in that sport. My goodness, I've been to enough volleyball games to know kids are diving, and as soon as they dive on that floor, they're sweating, they're perspiring, and somebody's got to come up and clean up the floor, after they dive. They're in very, very tight quarters on a volleyball court. So, there's real concerns with all of these sports, not just with football. We've discussed this at length, and I know you have too, Bo. Football's important. It's very, very important. It's a driver in college athletics, but our other sports are very important too. And quite frankly, those sports start before football starts, at least in terms of competing. So we're going to have to.
Well, let me ask you it another way. These are sports that don't make money. And so I guess what I meant was I think some people is the conference willing to move forward with non-revenue sports, not knowing whether or not football will be played in 2020 or 2021?
I think so, Bo, just because we would treat each sport based on the merits of can it be played safely. I think that's the primary concern. We are fortunate financially that, we might be able to do things a little bit differently than other leagues, maybe. But certainly the primary issue, and we had this discussion yesterday at our meeting about the fact that each one of these sports brings a different set of challenges, and the health and safety of the kids is the priority. And if we feel like, you can play another sport and it's safer for whatever reason, I don't see why that sport could not be played.
Okay. John Cohen, MSU AD. On the Coors Light guest line, how much, if any, is the SEC looking to the NFL for guidance?
Oh, I think that's one of the strengths of our league is there's so many ties. Major League Baseball, football. We discussed soccer, professional soccer at length yesterday as well. Anything that can help guide us. There's no such thing at this point in bad information if it's factual. And we're getting really good information from all those organizations, Bo. So again, nobody's going to out information Greg Sankey. Nobody. He's going to have more at his disposal, maybe than some professional franchises.
So if Commissioner Sankey / local and state officials and the medical advisory group, chancellors and university presidents, 2 weeks from now, give or take, y'all will a decision will come down on delaying it, Starting on time, delaying it, or maybe even just kicking it to the spring?
Yes, I would agree with that statement. And again, we feel very comfortable with the fact that we're going to get more data over the next 2 weeks. Right now, I mean, this is not a news flash, Bo. The data's not great right now. I don't think if we absolutely had to start a season tomorrow, I don't think we could do it. But we do have 2 weeks. A lot can happen in those 2 weeks, but we need these numbers to go down. Not just for football. We need it as a society. We need it for our economy. We need it for a variety of reasons. That's the most obvious thing. But again, all of us have our minds on, for now, all of us have our minds on staying on schedule for now, if it's possible. And we have a little bit of time to be able to make that decision.
If y'all were to go conference games only, if you had to do that, would you stick with the conference games you have on the schedule, or do you think that the league would just redo everybody's schedule, John?
Well, we were not presented alternate schedules. We just got information yesterday about the possibilities of moving in those directions that you just mentioned. I will say that conference only is complicated, as all of you know, and I'm sure you've discussed on the show many times, because our league has built-in rivals outside the league: Florida State, South Carolina, Clemson, Kentucky, Louisville, Georgia Tech. So one of the things that I'm not going to say our league is absolutely committed to, but there's some strong thought in that those games need to be played. And how do you work that in, with the possibility of playing conference games only? And I can't stress enough yet, Bo, we're not there yet. We're not there yet in terms of, leaning one way or another, because again, we do have, and again, that time is short. And you and I have had these discussions in the past. I said, hey, we got 60 days. Hey, we got 30 days. Well, very quickly, we're looking at a little bit less than 2 weeks to be able to make this decision.
So, John Cohen on the Out of Bounds show, MSU AD. Can your athletic department survive not playing football for a year?
It would be extremely difficult. Could we survive? Yes. It would be a real challenge. It would be a real challenge for everyone of the 14 members of the Southeastern Conference. Again, Bo, I'm optimistic we're going to play football.
Okay.
But is that this fall? Is it the spring? We don't know that yet. But I know every single president, every single athletic director, all the health officials, we are committed to playing football, as we are committed to playing our other fall sports as well.
Okay, I know that first and foremost is the safety of your players and then your personnel, coaches, athletic trainers, and so on. How much was discussed yesterday as far as spectators, fans in the stands?
Not as much yet. For now, most of it was, as you just mentioned, around the student athlete and the staff. Again, fans in the stand, I'm really viewing this, and I'm not speaking for Greg Sankey here, but I think that's being viewed as a local issue, a state and local government issue. Our governor in the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, and Dr. Dobbs and their task force are going to have a lot to say in terms of what the capacities of our stadiums in Starkville and Oxford and Hattiesburg and in Jackson. I mean, they're going to have a lot to say as to how many folks get in and the manner in which they get it and everything else. I don't think our league wants to make decisions on the local level.
Got it. Okay, what about student athletes training? How's it going?
I think it's going well. Right now, Bo, we don't worry about the training process because I think I'm not going to say it's seamless or perfect because that doesn't exist, but I think it's going extremely well. Our worry, and quite frankly, the worries of our medical personnel, it isn't when we are working out or watching film or doing the things that we're allowed to do under NCAA rules. The worry is, the other the other 22 hours a day. I mean, that's the worry. Because you and I were both 18 to 22 years old at one point in time. Kids are just not interested in going home and sitting in their apartment or their dorm room and doing nothing.
No.
Kids want to get out and do things, and therein lies the biggest challenge for me is how do we manage that? How do we educate these kids to tell them, in some respects, all of us are responsible for college football season and college, fall sports in general. We have got to turn the tide on this disease, and the only way that's going to happen is with some folks being super responsible, especially the student athletes themselves.
All right, so we appreciate you coming on, and I also can't imagine, the G5 programs need the checks that Power 5 write to them to operate their athletic departments. I can't imagine how that looks either. But all right, well, we'll do this again. I appreciate you coming on, answering some tough questions, and you need to splurge today. Enjoy some mac and cheese at lunch, John.
Okay, Bo. Thank you very much.
Take care, man. John Cohen, MSU AD, on the Coors Light guest line. You're listening to ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Okay, so he was more optimistic than I thought he would be, which was nice to hear. He wasn't all doom and gloom. Obviously, still a lot of concern, uphill battle. A lot could shake out in 14 days. Depends on what the medical advisory committee presents to Commissioner Sankey, chancellors, presidents, and ADs, maybe 7 to 14 days from now, as to how this all looks. John Cohen said that they could make it. It would be tight, but they could make it without football. I'm sorry, I went like worst case scenario, but I think that people are wondering, we got to lay it out a little bit here before we get into all the other fun stuff that we talk about.
My question would be, how much money do I get to save if I'm an AD if none of my coaches are performing their contracts? I mean,
I agree. Like Mike Norvell agreed to a 25% cut in pay at Florida State.
It's got to be coming almost across the board.
You would have to wonder when John Cohen and Keith Carter, I don't know if and when they would ask Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin to take a 10% or 20% pay. And does it go to Ben Howland and Kermit Davis Jr.? I don't think it trickles over into baseball. I mean, the two coaches, I know Bianco makes north of 7 figures. By the way, Keith Carter just redid his deal and maxed him out to 4 years. Remember, he wasn't maxed out last year. It was only 3. They didn't extend it to the max, state law of 4. I don't know if Lamonis is at $1 million or not, but he's probably getting really, really close, especially after the CWS appearance. Hey, we're live in the Bank Plus studio. The show is powered by Mississippi Sports Medicine and Orthopedic Center. Back in a minute.